The transmission came from a dimension that shouldn't exist. Marcus Chen stared at the quantum radio's display, watching impossible frequencies cascade across the screen like digital rain. In 3 years of monitoring deep space transmissions at the remote observatory, he'd heard everything from pulsar echoes to electromagnetic interference from nearby microwaves. This was different. This was speaking. "Hello? Can anyone hear me?" The voice crackled through layers of static, feminine and desperate. "Please, I know someone's listening." Marcus's hand hovered over the response key. Protocol said to log anomalous signals and report them to the university. Protocol didn't account for signals that made his equipment register readings in the negative spectrum, frequencies that his physics degree insisted couldn't exist. "This is Dr. Marcus Chen at Blackwood Observatory," he said into his headset, feeling ridiculous. "Who is this?" Silence stretched for 30 seconds. Then, "Oh, thank God. I'm Elena Vasquez, and this is going to sound insane, but I'm trapped in a parallel dimension." Marcus snorted. "Right. Let me guess. You're calling from the Starship Enterprise? You're drinking coffee from a blue mug with a chip on the handle." Elena's voice cut through his sarcasm. "There's a half-eaten sandwich next to your keyboard. Turkey and Swiss on rye. You've been wearing the same flannel shirt for 3 days." The coffee mug slipped from Marcus's suddenly numb fingers, shattering against the concrete floor. He looked around the empty control room, then up at the ceiling, searching for hidden cameras. The nearest town was 40 miles away. The nearest person was his supply delivery, scheduled for next week. "How could you possibly?" "Because I can see you," Elena said gently. "I've been trying to reach someone, anyone, for months. Your quantum array is the only thing broadcasting on frequencies that can cross dimensional barriers. Marcus, I need your help." His rational mind cataloged impossibilities. Interdimensional communication violated everything from thermodynamics to basic logic. His lonely heart, starved for connection after self-imposed isolation, whispered different truths. "Prove it," he said. "Tell me something else you couldn't know." "You came out here after the accident. Your research partner died in the lab fire, and you blame yourself because you were running calculations instead of checking the equipment." Elena's voice softened. "You keep her photo on your desk, next to the plant you're terrible at remembering to water." Marcus's throat tightened. Dr. Sarah Kim smiled up at him from the silver frame. Frozen forever at 28. Brilliant and ambitious and dead, because he'd been too absorbed in quantum field equations to notice the smell of burning circuits. "Sarah," he whispered, "you talk to her picture sometimes. Late at night, when you think no one can hear." Elena paused. "I've been listening, Marcus. I'm sorry for your loss." The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus gripped the edge of his desk, knuckles white. "Where are you? What dimension? How is any of this possible?" "I was working on quantum entanglement research at Stanford. Theoretical stuff, trying to prove parallel universe theory through particle observation. The experiment worked too well." Elena's laugh held no humor. "Instead of observing other dimensions, I got pulled into one. I've been stuck here for 8 months. Describe it. This other dimension. It's similar to yours, but wrong. The physics are slightly different. Gravity is weaker. Light bends differently. The trees grow in spirals and the sky has 2 moons. But the worst part?" Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "I'm completely alone. Every other living thing here exists in a different phase state. I can see shadows of people, but they can't see me, can't hear me, can't touch me." Marcus found himself leaning forward, drawn into her words despite every scientific instinct screaming that this was impossible. "How are you surviving?" "Food and water exist in my phase, thankfully. And I found equipment similar to what I was using back home. Spent months jury-rigging a dimensional transmitter using quantum field generators and prayer." A pause filled with static. "You're the first person who's answered." "Elena." The name felt strange on his tongue. Real. "I've been monitoring these frequencies for years. Why now? Why tonight? Because tonight, something changed. The barriers between dimensions are weakening. I can see more clearly into your world, communicate more easily." Her voice gained urgency. "But it also means other things can cross over. Things that hunt across dimensional boundaries." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. "What kind of things?" "I don't know what to call them. Shadow creatures that feed on dimensional energy. They've been tracking my transmissions, getting closer every day. When I broadcast to you, I light up their sensors like a flare. Elena's breathing quickened. Marcus, I'm scared. The admission hit him unexpectedly hard. This impossible woman, trapped in an impossible situation, had chosen to trust him with her fear. When was the last time anyone had been that vulnerable with him? Don't be scared, he said, surprised by the steadiness in his own voice. We'll figure this out. I have access to quantum research, dimensional theory papers. There has to be a way to bring you back. You believe me? Wonder colored her words. Marcus looked around his empty control room, at the shattered coffee mug, at Sarah's photo, at the readings on his screen that defied every law of physics he'd spent his life studying. I believe you. Thank you, Elena whispered, and somehow those two words contained more gratitude than Marcus had ever heard. They talked until dawn. Elena described her world in vivid detail. Cities where buildings phased in and out of visibility, forests where crystalline trees sang in harmonics that made her teeth ache, an ocean that reflected stars from unfamiliar constellations. Marcus found himself painting mental pictures of her life, imagining this brilliant woman wandering through a beautiful, empty world. What did you do before all this? He asked, as the sun crested the mountains outside his window. Quantum physics, obviously, but I also painted terrible watercolors of landscapes that don't exist. Elena's smile came through in her voice. I used to set up my easel in Golden Gate Park and paint parallel universe versions of San Francisco. Tourists thought I was either brilliant or completely insane. Maybe both? Definitely both. What about you? Besides talking to dead people and drinking coffee from broken mugs? Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. I used to build model rockets with my nephew, before I became a hermit. He hesitated. I was working on dimensional detection theory with Sarah, trying to prove that parallel universes leak energy signatures into ours. Ironic, isn't it? Not ironic. Destiny. Elena's tone grew thoughtful. Marcus, I don't think our connection is random. Your research, my experiment, this specific frequency, it's all connected. You sound like you have a theory. I do. But you're going to think I'm even crazier than you already do. Try me. I'm talking to someone in another dimension. My definition of crazy has been thoroughly recalibrated. Elena laughed, and the sound made Marcus realize how quiet his world had become. How long since he'd heard genuine laughter. I think, Elena said carefully, that consciousness creates quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers. Not just particle observation, but emotional observation. We're connected because we needed to be connected. That's not how physics works. Your physics. In my dimension, consciousness and quantum mechanics are more obviously linked. Thoughts have measurable energy signatures. Emotions can influence particle behavior at a distance. Her voice grew excited. What if love operates on quantum frequencies that transcend dimensional boundaries? Marcus felt his heart skip. Love? Silence stretched between them, filled with possibility and terror. Elena started, then stopped. I've been watching you for months, Marcus. Listening to you talk to Sarah, seeing you work through problems, watching you be kind to yourself on good days and brutal on bad ones. I know how you make coffee, how you sing off key when you think no one can hear, how you leave lights on because the dark reminds you of being alone. She took a shaky breath. I've fallen in love with a man I've never met. Marcus stared at the radio, heart hammering. Elena, you don't have to say anything. I know it's impossible. I just needed you to know that somewhere in the multiverse, someone loves you exactly as you are. The words hung in the air like a bridge between worlds. Marcus thought about Sarah, about guilt and isolation, and the careful walls he'd built around his heart. Then he thought about this remarkable woman who'd reached across impossible distances just to find connection. I love you too, he said quietly. The radio crackled with static that almost sounded like crying. Really? Elena's voice was small, hopeful. Really. Which means we're going to figure out how to bring you home. Marcus, the things hunting me, don't care. If you die in there, I'm coming after you. Elena's laugh was watery, but genuine. My hero. They developed a routine over the following weeks. Elena would transmit during specific windows when dimensional barriers were thinnest, usually between 2 and 4 a.m. Marcus would spend his days researching, diving deep into theoretical physics papers, quantum mechanics texts, anything that might explain interdimensional travel. "I've been thinking about your consciousness theory," Marcus said during their third week of regular contact. "There are papers on quantum entanglement responding to observer intention, not just observation." "Go on." "What if we could create a targeted entanglement field? Use your emotional signature as a quantum beacon to lock onto your specific dimensional coordinates. You'd need massive amounts of energy. We're talking about tearing a hole between realities." Marcus pulled up schematics on his computer. "The observatory has a particle accelerator for deep space research. If I could modify it, channel the output through the quantum array." "Marcus," Elena's voice carried a warning, "that kind of energy manipulation could kill you. Or worse, it could tear holes in multiple dimensions simultaneously. So, we'll be careful." "We? I'm trapped in another dimension. You're the one taking all the risks." "We're in this together," Marcus said firmly. "Your mind, my equipment, we're a team." Elena was quiet for a long moment. "I haven't been part of a team in a very long time." "Me neither. Maybe it's time we both tried again." Their conversations meandered through science and philosophy, childhood memories and dreams for the future. Elena told him about growing up in a house full of cousins in San Antonio, about her grandmother who read fortunes in coffee grounds, and insisted that love could transcend any obstacle. Marcus shared memories of building rockets with his nephew, of Sarah's infectious enthusiasm for impossible theories, of the day he decided to hide from the world. "You know what I miss most?" Elena said one night. "Physical touch. Not even romantic touch, just human contact. Shaking hands, hugging friends, feeling connected to something real." Marcus understood. His self-imposed isolation had been about avoiding emotional connection, but he'd forgotten how much simple human contact mattered. "When we get you back, first thing I'm doing is giving you the world's longest hug. I'm holding you to that promise." But their conversations weren't always light. Elena's situation was deteriorating. The shadow creatures were getting closer, appearing more frequently around her hideout in an abandoned laboratory building. "They're attracted to dimensional energy," Elena explained during a particularly tense transmission. "Every time I contact you, I create a beacon they can follow. But if I don't contact you—" "You're not going silent on me," Marcus said. "We're close to a breakthrough. I've modified the particle accelerator, and I think I can create a stable dimensional rift. The energy requirements, I'll figure it out. Elena, I need you to trust me. I do trust you. That's what scares me." The attack came without warning during their 7th week of contact. Marcus was calibrating the modified accelerator when Elena's scream shattered the quiet of the control room. Her transmission devolved into static and sounds that made his skin crawl, something between roaring and the whisper of wind through broken glass. "Elena!" Marcus shouted into the microphone. "Elena, talk to me!" The radio went dead. For 72 hours, Marcus broadcast continuously on every frequency, calling Elena's name until his voice gave out. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, just sat in front of the radio willing her to answer. On the 4th day, a weak signal broke through. "Marcus?" Elena's voice was barely a whisper. "Oh, thank God. Are you hurt? What happened?" "They found me. The shadow things." Elena's breathing was labored. "I'm alive, but barely. They damaged my equipment. I can't transmit much longer." Rage burned through Marcus's exhaustion. "Where are you now?" "Hiding in some kind of underground facility. The walls seem to block their sensors, but I don't think I can stay hidden forever." Her voice faded, then strengthened. "Marcus, you need to know something. I've been analyzing the dimensional barriers while hiding down here. They're not just weakening, they're collapsing." "What does that mean?" "It means the separation between our realities is temporary. Within a few weeks, either you'll be able to cross to my dimension, or I'll be pulled back into yours. But the process will be violent, catastrophic." Marcus's mind raced. "Then we don't wait, I'm coming for you now." "The accelerator isn't ready. It's ready enough. Elena, send me everything you have on dimensional coordinates, energy signatures, anything that can help me lock onto your location. Marcus, this is insane. You could die, or get trapped here with me, or I could save the woman I love." Marcus's hands flew over the control panel, powering up systems that hadn't been designed for what he was about to attempt. Trust me. I do. God help me. I do. Elena's data came through in fragments. Quantum coordinates that looked like poetry. Energy signatures that painted pictures in Marcus's mind of a world both beautiful and wrong. He fed the information into his modified systems, watching impossible equations resolve into something approaching scientific sense. Marcus, Elena's voice was fading. If this doesn't work, it's going to work. But if it doesn't, I need you to know that meeting you, even like this, has been the best part of my life. Tell me that in person, Marcus said, and initiated the sequence. The particle accelerator hummed to life, building energy levels that made his teeth ache. Quantum fields collapsed and reformed around the radio array, reality bending like heated glass. Warning lights flashed across every system, and somewhere in the distance, Marcus could hear the sound of dimensional barriers stretching to their breaking point. Elena, I'm opening the rift now. Whatever happens, run toward the energy signature. I can see it. Marcus, there's something beautiful. Her voice cut out as the portal opened. The air in the control room split like fabric, revealing a window into Elena's world. Through the rift, Marcus saw spiraling trees under an alien sky, crystalline structures that sang with harmonics that made his heart race, and in the distance, a figure running toward the portal. Elena. She was smaller than he'd imagined, dark hair streaming behind her as she sprinted across impossible terrain. Behind her, shadow creatures flowed like living darkness, gaining ground with every step. Come on, Marcus whispered, pouring more power into the portal. Come on. Elena reached the rift just as the shadows caught up. One of the creatures lashed out with something that might have been a claw, catching her shoulder and spinning her around. She stumbled, fell, and for a moment Marcus thought she wouldn't make it. Then their eyes met across dimensional boundaries. Elena smiled, brilliant and determined and more beautiful than any physics equation Marcus had ever solved, and threw herself through the portal. She landed hard on the control room floor as the rift collapsed behind her, cutting off the shadow creature's pursuit. The sudden absence of interdimensional energy left Marcus's ears ringing and his vision spotted. Elena sat up slowly, one hand pressed to her bleeding shoulder, and looked around the control room. Her gaze found Sarah's photo, the broken coffee mug Marcus had never cleaned up, the banks of equipment she'd only heard described. You're exactly like your voice, she said softly. Marcus knelt beside her, gently examining her wound. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Nothing that won't heal. Elena reached up and touched his face with wonder. You're real. You're actually real. So are you. Marcus covered her hand with his, feeling the solid warmth of her skin. Elena, She kissed him. It was gentle and desperate and full of months of longing transmitted across impossible distances. When they broke apart, both were crying. I can't believe you did it, Elena whispered against his lips. You actually opened a dimensional rift. I told you I was coming for you. Elena looked around the control room again, taking in details she'd only been able to glimpse from her dimension. It's smaller than I expected. Cozier. It's been pretty lonely until now. Well, Elena grinned, settling more comfortably into his arms. I hope you're ready for some company, because I don't think I can get back to my dimension, even if I wanted to. Marcus thought about that, about sharing his carefully ordered solitude with this remarkable woman who'd fallen into his life from another reality entirely. The prospect should have terrified him. Instead, it felt like coming home. I was hoping you'd say that, he admitted. Elena laughed, the sound echoing off the control room walls like music from another world. So, what do we do now? Marcus looked at the woman in his arms, brilliant, brave, and impossibly real, then at the quantum equipment that had made their connection possible, and finally at Sarah's photo. His old friend seemed to be smiling with approval. Now, Marcus said, pulling Elena closer, we figure out how to live in the same dimension. I love you, Marcus Chen. I love you too, Elena Vasquez. Welcome to my reality. Outside, the sun was rising over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of possibility. In the distance, Marcus could hear the first birds singing. Ordinary, beautiful sounds from an ordinary, beautiful world that had just become infinitely more extraordinary. Elena nestled against his shoulder, solid and warm, and finally, impossibly, there. You know what this means, right? We've just proven that love operates on quantum frequencies. We've proven a lot of things, Marcus agreed. But mostly, we've proven that some impossible things are worth believing in. The frequency of love, Elena murmured sleepily. The frequency of love, Marcus repeated, and held her close as their two realities settled into one,